They were raised here.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Commission Seat 4 Candidate Forum. My name is Cammie Lumpkin. I'm the President and CEO of the Safety Harbor Chamber, and we are pleased to be able to co-host this event tonight with the City of Safety Harbor. So I want to say thank you to our candidates for their time tonight and their willingness to serve our community. It's a pretty big deal. Thank you for that. And yep. And thank all of you for being here and being engaged and informed. And please share. We'll be posting this tomorrow, so if you know people that weren't here, make sure that they see it too. They should have these, be able to hear this as well. So, so do share this when we post the video tomorrow. And thank you for the library for hosting this, giving us this beautiful space. If you haven't been here before, you can see it's a gorgeous event space, and we're really lucky to have it. So thank you. And to our League of Women Voters, we couldn't do these events without them. So thank you for being here and giving us your time as well. They're volunteers in our community and passionate about what they do, so thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Christina Kovarik. So she's going to explain a little bit about what they do at the League of Women Voters, and she'll explain our guidelines for tonight and how the entire evening is going to work. And make sure they can still get cards if they want. So she'll talk a little bit about that as well. So thank you all for being here, and let's begin.
All right.
You don't need that.
Okay. Welcome to the Municipal Candidate Forum for City Commission Seat Number 4. I'm so happy to see so many residents here and applaud your engagement in the local election process, and I really do thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend here tonight. A big thank you to the sponsors of the event, the Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce, for organizing tonight's forum. And I'd also like to thank our host, the Safety Harbor Public Library, for the use of this beautiful space. My name is Christina Kovarik with the League of Women's Voters of North Pinellas, and I'm honored to be here tonight as the moderator. I have several fellow League members here with me tonight. At the information table is Jennifer Lee, and we have Tanya Landry, who's our president of the North Pinellas League of Women's Voters. Our timekeeper for the evening is Sue Cornett, here in the front. The League of Women's Voters is over 100 years old and was born out of the suffrage movement, which advocated for a woman's right to vote. The League is a nonpartisan grassroots organization. We do not support or endorse political candidates, and our mission is simple: empowering voters and defending democracy. We envision a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League encourages voter registration, voter education, and participation in elections. We produce a factual voter guide available publicly on vote411.org, which many of you have previously used. We would love to have you consider becoming a member, and that includes the men in the audience. When you arrived, you passed our information table with index cards for you to write down questions for the candidates, and I thank those that have already given me quite a few questions for tonight. If you have one that you think of, please fill out the index card and leave it with one of the members of the League. Tonight, we are here to listen to the candidates and get insight on how these candidates stand on local issues so you can make an informed decision on Election Day, March 10th. Before we introduce the candidates, I want to go over the candidate ground rules for the audience and the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement and tell you about themselves and their goals as your commissioner. Once the introductions have been completed, it will be followed by a round of questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Questions will be rotated between the two candidates to ensure that both get a chance to go first. At the end, each candidate will be provided with 2 minutes to summarize their candidacy. Our timekeeper, Sue, will provide a prompt 30-second warning prior to the 1 minute expiring, followed by a stop notice when time has expired. 15 seconds, okay. 30 seconds and 15 seconds. And one more reminder, about the index cards. If you think of a question, please don't hesitate to submit it. Questions of a personal nature are discouraged, and we ask that all questions focus on issues of importance to the City of Safety Harbor and the candidate's perspective on these topics. We will attempt to get to all of the questions as time permits. We have 1 hour allotted to complete this forum. And very important, this is not a debate. Candidates will not respond to each other's responses. We ask the audience to refrain from clapping until we wrap up and not to shout out questions or comments during the forum. So now, let us introduce the candidates participating tonight, David Gallagher and Kevin Sparks. Shanks. I'm sorry. Why did I write? Boy, that's a typo, isn't it? Sorry. We are ready to begin. So I'm going to go alphabetical, and David Gallagher, you have your 2 minutes.
Good evening. Before I introduce myself, I'd just like to, again, thanks to the Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring it, for the League of Women Voters for hosting. See a lot of familiar faces in the crowd, always encouraging to see, and the numbers themselves just point to the importance of our city and people's participating and how we govern the city. For those people who don't know me, my name is David Gallagher. I've been a 30-year resident of Safety Harbor. I reside in Bay Woods. Married to Maureen with children Jack and Elena. We've raised our children. They both attended Safety Harbor Middle School, and we've built a life in Safety Harbor. We've invested in the community. Maureen and I believed in being active as volunteers and people who truly are invested in Safety Harbor. Maureen was active in the PTA at McMullen Booth. I was a dynamic dad, which was an offshoot of the PTA. Additionally, I was involved as a Safety Harbor Little League coach for baseball and softball and as a coach at Countryside Youth Soccer. I currently attend Espiritu Santo Church in Safety Harbor. Previously, I was on the board at St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Tampa, part of their stewardship committee, their headmaster search committee, as well as their rector search committee. So I'm very involved and very knowledgeable of how budgets work and how selections occur. For the last 40 years, I've been involved as an owner in a food service company and a coffee company. I've traveled throughout the Southeast getting to know vendors, customers, and prospects. My focus, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, will be solely on the City of Safety Harbor. One lesson that I learned in my business career is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, and it's worth reporting. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. We care about Safety Harbor.
Thank you, David. All right. Candidate Shanks.
Hi. Good evening, and thank you all for being here tonight. I'd also like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's forum and all the work they do. Also, thank you, David. I know it's not easy to put yourself out and come up here, so thank you for being involved as well. For those that don't know me, my name is Kevin Shanks, and I'm running for Safety Harbor City Commission because I deeply believe in the community and its future. I also, before I go further, want to thank my amazing wife, Nikki. She's here in the crowd, as well as my parents, Steve and Flip. Their support means everything to me, and I wouldn't be standing here or sitting here without them. I have deep roots in Safety Harbor. My family's been here since the 60s. And my wife and I chose Safety Harbor to start our family because of what makes it special. The people, the walkable downtown, the local businesses, the events, and that this is a sense of a place where neighbors truly look out for one another. We're raising our 2 kids here, Audrey and Lucas, who are 3 and 5 years old, and they attend Safety Harbor Elementary. And that's what makes the future of this city especially important for us to maintain the small town charm and make it a great place for them to grow up and hopefully raise their families. I know Safety Harbor is home to many longtime residents and seniors. It's important that our city continues to work well for everyone, them as well as our future. Over the past several years, I've been fortunate to be part of the downtown as a small business owner, Troubled Waters Brewing. I believe it's valuable to have that perspective on the commission, someone who has lived through the challenges that both residents and small business owners can face when navigating city processes, and who understand the importance of clear communication. And that shapes how I think about leadership. I believe in being fiscally responsible and thoughtful with taxpayer dollars while still protecting the programs, services, and events that make Safety Harbor such a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right, our first question to candidate Gallagher. How did you come about the decision to run for city commission, or why are you running for city commission, and why is it important to you?
I have a lot of whys. Safety Harbor is a special place. We were fortunate to send our 2 children to Safety Harbor Middle School. They've both launched professional careers and by all indicators are doing very well. That's our first why. The second why is I've lived in Tampa. I've seen what a larger city offers. I was raised in a smaller city in Pennsylvania. As Kevin referred to, the charm, the culture, the amenities that Safety Harbor offers, all of those things are attractive, and I think as a bedroom community of St. Petersburg and Tampa, we need to continue to build on our strengths to make that attractive to folks who want to live here and who might want to work elsewhere. That's how I came to my whys.
Thank you. All right, candidate Shanks, same question. Do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
How did you come about the decision to run for city commission, or why are you running, and why is it important to you?
Yeah, so I've been involved for a long time in following the city commission. I've gone to plenty of meetings. I've always sat and thought and listened, and I've always thought that I could bring a good perspective as somebody who's opened a business and gone before them. My children are the most important thing to me, and I've always had a feeling of civic duty and responsibility to help build our community for them as well as all the other kids in town. Part of my work in opening a brewery is to create a space for our community, a gathering space that people come and meet and talk, and that's one of the things that we all love about Safety Harbor is those spaces, whether it's your coffee shop, your brewery, your church, your Little League. And I feel like I can bring my talents in building a community space to the greater community.
Thank you. Next question. Candidate Shanks, what is your history of service and volunteerism, specifically within the city of Safety Harbor?
So I have been really involved in the business community, working with the Chamber of Commerce. Coming out of COVID, when the Chamber of Commerce took over Third Friday, I worked really closely with them to help build that into the event that it is today, organizing the different hospitality owners downtown, communicating with them in the Chamber to make sure it's an event that is valuable to everybody. Through the brewery, I have partnered with a lot of local charities, whether it's the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club, the Public Library Foundation, to help raise money for the local charities, as well as volunteering. I helped organize the Safety Harbor Craft Beer Fest that raised thousands of dollars for the Kiwanis Club and Paint Your Heart Out Safety Harbor. And yeah.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, what is your history of service and volunteerism, specifically within the city of Safety Harbor?
Yes. I'm currently the president of Bay Woods Homeowners Association. I was previously the president of Bay Woods Homeowners Association. So I got that job back. I guess I performed pretty well. As far as other activities within the city of Safety Harbor, I was a youth coach at Safety Harbor Little League in baseball and in softball, coaching both my children as well as an opportunity to meet other parents and children in Safety Harbor. I'm active at Espiritu Santo Church as a Knight of Columbus, and we are in the middle of putting together an umbrella group for the HOAs within Safety Harbor whose bylaws have sunsetted. So I'm talking to other HOAs within the city. So that is my experience.
Okay. All right, next question, candidate Gallagher. What has this volunteerism and serving on these serving with these various activities taught you about the inner workings of the local government?
There's no substitute for meeting people and hearing their story, whether it's their walk of life or whether it's their perspective on the city. One of the experiences that I promised myself is before I came to hard and fast stances as a platform, I would do some listening. And I've made it a point while walking my dog at the park, at all of our parks, and we have many great ones, of asking people, what do you think the challenges are at Safety Harbor? What do you think the opportunities are at Safety Harbor? And I've heard a multitude of answers, from parking, permitting, traffic, events. All of those have informed me about what people's priorities are at Safety Harbor, and all will guide me as far as how I build my platform out and what I think the priorities are for the citizens of Safety Harbor.
All right, candidate Shanks. What has serving on the committees and your volunteerism taught you about the inner workings of our local government?
It's taught me really how much the people that work in our government care about it. The public servants that work in all the departments that help put on events or serve the community all are very talented and deeply care, and they're knowledgeable and what an asset they are. It's taught me about how all the people in our that volunteer for these events alongside me, how much they care as well, and what an asset they are to the community. It's taught me that, you know, government work is not as simple or as easy as it might sound. There's a lot of factors to consider and things at play, and it's important to ask a lot of questions and be willing to take an idea or a thought from, from the idea or a thought to execution and completion.
Okay. All right, candidate Gallagher, next question. How do you describe the current state of Safety Harbor and the direction?
Safety Harbor is a unique place. The adjective charm is used a lot, quaint. We are at a unique place in our growth. We are experiencing some of the challenges with aged infrastructure, with facilities that might have served us well 10 or 15 years ago. We're going to need to continue to take a look at what we do going forward and what our priorities are. That's it.
All right, candidate Shanks. How do you describe the current state of Safety Harbor and the direction?
I think the current state is, the community itself is very strong. I haven't talked to a single person who doesn't love living here. There's obviously there's challenges and things that people all have their input on, but as a whole, they have these concerns because of how much they care about the community and how much they love living here and being residents, whether it's going to our Parks Department events or being downtown, going to those events, or being in their schools or their churches. It's still a fantastic community. We do need some thoughtful leadership to manage the growth that we see, to take all these things into consideration to make sure that we maintain that sense of community and charm within the city.
All right, you get the next question. What ideas do you have to ensure a diverse and welcoming community for all and that all voices are heard?
I think the most important thing is to continually to listen and ask questions. I constantly do that. I mean, it's in my job. I hear from people every single day at the brewery, ask them what they think about things, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about you, whether it's my customer or a citizen that I represent. I think creating welcoming spaces that are welcoming to everybody are super important to encourage those efforts within our government, our schools, our churches, to just continually support them.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, what ideas do you have to ensure a diverse and welcoming community for all and that all voices are heard?
I think formal and informal information gathering is important. Formal is through questionnaires, surveys, public meetings that are publicized on the Safety Harbor website. I think informal, Kevin mentioned, people who might visit his brewery. I think as city commissioners and as city staff, we need to ask good questions in an informal or formal environment. We need to be open to challenge those questions, because by challenging, I think we get the best ideas. In closing, I'd just say formal and informal questionnaires, surveys, holding public events, and encouraging people to come forth with good ideas.
All right, you get the next question. Candidate Gallagher, we've heard a lot lately from the state about fraud and waste at the local level of government. What would you do to improve residents' understanding of the budget process and how they can hold their elected officials accountable for spending?
I think the most power is the power of your vote. People get voted out, people get voted in. I think holding people accountable is as a citizenry, attending meetings, making sure that actual budgets are close to real budgets. And then there's some other things we can do. Our financials every year need to be filed with the state. And it's important that we follow through on filing those financials, and if they're not done in a timely manner, that we have good reasons as far as we're not filing them. There needs to be a system of checks and balances. It starts with the citizenry via good questions, and it ends with, as they say, verifying the information.
All right, Candidate Shanks, you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. We've heard a lot lately from the state about fraud and waste at the local level of government. What would you do to improve residents' understanding of the budget process and how they can hold their elected officials accountable for spending?
So I think communication is super important. Notifications and putting something as potentially boring as a budget process into plain, realistic examples for everybody. Notifying them of budgeting issues. I've sat down with most of the heads of the departments in the city, whether it's Public Works or the fire department, and my feeling from talking to all of them is they're incredibly qualified and we're getting really good value for our dollar for what we're spending on tax dollars. Making that more known and making the citizens more aware of all the services they're getting for their tax dollars is incredibly important. And I will say that we need to make it clear that that you have a vote locally, and when your tax dollars go locally, that you have more say than if reform happens, where property tax dollars go away or they go towards the state.
All right, next question, first to you, Candidate Shanks. How would you balance the needs of long-term residents with new development?
I think that it's important to manage new development and consider how it impacts our long-term residents, to realize that new developments might be going in next door to somebody that's lived there for 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years. At the same point, it's important to have to be business friendly and allow managed development to happen that fits in with our small town. I think that longtime residents are here because they value all the services we have. and because they're getting what they want out of this community. So to continue to support the efforts of what they do find valuable here is extremely important.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, how would you balance the needs of long-term residents with new development?
I think it first starts with having public hearings, having listening events to understand from those long-term residents exactly what is important to those residents. People make a lot of assumptions. They assume they heard, they assume they know. Can't talk enough about public events, hearings. I think once you discern what's important to those long-term residents, you can then, in a very measured way, talk about developments that will impact and have the least negative implications for those long-term residents. But it really has to start with good listening, probing questions to discern exactly what's important to those long-term residents.
All right, thank you. And Candidate Gallagher, what do you believe is the best role for local government to play in ensuring human services like food, housing, and affordable health care?
It's a good question. You know, a good city is empathetic to those folks who are on a journey in life that doesn't put them where their neighbor might be or where their congregant might be. I think how you go forward to create some minimal safety net for those folks who are not in as fortunate a situation, I think that starts with listening, it starts with quantifying, and then most importantly, it starts with what is the will of the people? The will of the people should guide any city commissioner. What is the majority will of the people and how they want to act? And I think that has to inform your action.
All right. Candidate Shanks, what do you believe is the best role for local government to play in ensuring human services like food, housing, and affordable health care?
Yeah, I wish that the Safety Harbor City Commission could solve affordable health care. That is a problem that is bigger than the commission. That being said, we do have the ability to work with local organizations like Maddie Williams and support a safety net for people in our community by supporting them with tax dollars so that the people that truly need it the most are able to utilize their food pantry or their after-school care or getting life services to help them. You know, their food pantry has grown from 70 people a few years ago to over 200 now that are using it weekly. And to continue to support organizations like that help the people that need it the most in our community is a valuable safety net that we can assist with.
All right. And along those veins, Candidate Shanks, what role do you think the city and its taxpayers should play in the affordable housing issue? And more specifically, what would your proposals be to address the issue?
So this is an issue that's super important and personal to me. I thankfully have a small house not too far from here, but I have two young kids. I have a 1960s two-bedroom house that is 950 square feet, and my two kids are getting older, and I would love to be able to upgrade and go to a slightly larger home, but I just can't afford it in Safety Harbor right now. So I think it's important to have those thoughts of affordability on mind when making decisions in the community for Safety Harbor. I think encouraging a variety of housing development that fits everybody's need is really important to make this a strong community that everybody that wants to live here can.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, what role do you think the city and its taxpayers should play in the affordable housing issue? And more specifically, what would your proposals be to address the issue?
The Live Local Act major Florida law actually creates statewide affordable housing plans. It features tax incentives for developers, and it accelerates approvals. That's one tool to address affordable housing. Affordable housing, there are other tools at our disposal. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac both offer 97% financing with 3% down for first-time home buyers. Those tools are not, they're not made aware to a lot of first-time home buyers. Pinellas County also offers a first-time home buyer program for those folks with very liberal underwriting criteria for those folks who might also need access. And finally, Pinellas County Housing Authority, another tool that could be available to us. Pinellas County Housing Authority has a portfolio of 15 rental homes, rental properties for those folks who are below the median income guidelines. So all those tools should be offered.
All right, thank you. Next question, Candidate Gallagher. Do you have any concerns over the area trend of tear downs that are then replaced with larger, newer, and more contemporary homes out of character with the neighborhood?
Safety Harbor's charm and culture is important. I think public input is very important when we decide how to move forward with, as a lot of folks would call them, McMansions. I think one perspective is, does it fit in with that particular neighborhood? But I think trying to regulate what a private landowner wants to do in a private transaction, I think takes us to a place that maybe government shouldn't be involved in, but that's not to say, from a zoning and land use perspective, there shouldn't be some clear guidelines about density and land use that should guide those private parties when they want to build a mansion.
All right. Candidate Shanks, do you have any concerns over the area trend of tear downs that are then replaced with larger, newer, and more contemporary homes out of character with the neighborhood?
Yes. I think the trend of tearing down and replacing is not necessarily an issue. It's the out of character with the neighborhood that is added on there. You know, we need a variety of homes for all types of families, whether it's small or large. I think that it's important to encourage development that is in character in the neighborhood. So if you would like to build a larger home, that it fits into that character and the small town charm that Safety Harbor has. I think it's important to have dialogue with developers and let them know that that's important to the city and the commission, and encourage them to bring development that is within those guidelines.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question. Residents consistently raise concerns about parking and traffic congestion downtown. What new ideas or proposals would you bring to the board to consider?
So parking is obviously a hot topic issue for events. It's something I know well as a business owner. I think that I am open to listening to all kinds of ideas, whether it's a parking garage somewhere that makes sense, or more available parking from the city. I like encouraging the use of golf carts. Golf carts are much smaller, and you can park multiple golf carts in the space of several cars, adding parking without adding spaces. I think all those ideas are great. I don't have a specific location for something like a parking garage. It's much broader and bigger than that, but I'm definitely open to continuing to explore those issues and being proactive about it rather than sit on our hands and just say it's nothing of concern.
Candidate Gallagher, residents consistently raise concerns about parking and traffic congestion downtown. What new ideas or proposals would you bring to the board to consider?
I think the board needs to take a look at all solutions that make sense before we invest in capital for a parking garage. Wouldn't rule that out, but I think any pragmatic business decision on the city's part, we want to take a look at other options. And they could include creating leasehold arrangements with private landowners, the spa, the property next to Nona's, where there's significant available parking that could lessen the demand on parking. They could also take a look at, we have the Folly Farms property, which is significant acreage. Could there be a shuttle from Folly Farms to Main Street when there's just special events? A lot of folks talk about the parking issues we have, but then when you ask them, when do you notice it? You typically hear on Third Friday or events, and do you have a parking issue other than that? Occasionally. So I think you should take a look at all those as tools to alleviate parking.
All right. Let's see here. All right, and you get candidate Shanks. Next question. What events are valuable to us as a community? Which ones are not? And how do you feel they should be addressed?
Which events are valuable?
Which events are valuable to us as a community? Which ones are not? And how do you feel they should be addressed?
I think all events are valuable to us as a community. Events that are valuable to me personally might not be the same ones that are valuable to you. I think if somebody puts the time and effort into organizing an event, who am I to say that just because I don't personally like it, it's not a wonderful event for them and their community. So I would be hesitant to say any aren't valuable. If they bring people together, it's valuable. I like to continue to encourage the appropriate amount of events, whether it's at the waterfront or on Main Street or at other locations throughout the town. I think supporting them and encouraging them to as avenues to unite this community is super important.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question. What is your position on the policing issues we have? Oh,
David
I'm
did
sorry.
answer.
Oh, my gosh. Do you need me to read the question again?
Could you?
What events are valuable to us as a community? Which ones are not? And how do you feel they should be addressed?
I think the city and the commission's given a lot of thought about the number of events and the importance of events. Third Friday, just by numbers alone, is a very popular event with the old, the young, the active, the inactive. The music events that we hold are well attended. I think they serve a good purpose. They bring people from different cultures who appreciate different music genres into our city. The food events, whether it's food trucks or our restaurants serving food on Main Street, again, they bring people together. They're important. The car show, people from a different walk of life entirely might attend the car show. I think all are important. I haven't seen one that's not. So that's what I'd say.
All right. And we'll start with you for the next question. What is your position on the policing issues we have during special city events?
My experience is based on Third Friday and 4th of July. And what I would say is I have seen crowds act civilly. I have not seen any major negative things occur. I've heard of very few arrests at those, and that's just dealing with that side. As far as traffic is concerned and how police might direct traffic, that's a whole nother issue. And that gets into traffic control, traffic flow, the police who are overseeing that, and what the residents think about that, and are the residents prepared to deal with that. There could be, I think, more information disseminated to residents about upcoming events and the implications of those events as far as traffic and the things that are going to occur with larger crowds.
Okay. Candidate Shanks. What is your position on the policing issues we have during special city events?
So I think it's very important for our city to communicate clearly with the Sheriff's Department about our wants and desires and needs for these policing issues. Previously, if you go back a year ago, our contract with the Sheriff's Department to issue policing services was not particularly managed by anybody in the city. And recently, our city manager, Mr. Stefanchek, has moved that contract under the fire chief as a director of all public safety in Safety Harbor. And I think that's an important step, that there's somebody in charge of all public safety and actually managing our relationship with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Because that communication is key, where we listen to residents. Residents tell us their issues, and we, as a commission, respond to the city manager, the city, who relays those issues to the fire chief, and actually has a clear voice with our sheriff's deputies about what we want as a city.
All right. Thank you. All right, candidate Gallagher. There are a number of empty storefronts on Main Street. What will be your strategy for attracting and retaining businesses in Safety Harbor?
I think businesses make decisions that are good for them as a business. I think the city certainly could incentivize some of those tenants, whether it be through different programs, to make sure that they view Safety Harbor versus Dunedin or Oldsmar as good of a business decision and as popular a business decision as going to a Dunedin or Oldsmar. As far as a specific program, I would leave that to the real estate professionals within our city staff to devise programs, because I'm outside of my depth when we talk about actual programs that could be developed for those. So that's my answer.
All right, candidate Shanks. There are a number of empty storefronts on Main Street. What would be your strategy for attracting new businesses and retaining businesses?
Sure. So this is something, as a downtown business owner, that's definitely important to me. I am currently going through the process of getting permits to expand my business. I know the issues and challenges that people have had with that. I think bringing insight, as somebody who has done that and is doing that, to the commission to help make those processes easier for the small business owners that want to, is very important. I think communication with the landowners of those properties, and to assist them in finding tenants, and if that's something they're desiring. As private property owners, they obviously have ability to do what they want with their property, but I think making it business friendly to open a business downtown is super important. There's the Downtown Partnership Grant Program currently existing. I've used it. It provides matching funds for businesses that would like to come in and improve their property or renovate. Publicizing that and letting people know is very important.
All right. You get the next question, candidate Kate Shanks. Given our coastal location, park and waterfront amenities, what position should we take as a community, and investments should or shouldn't be made in environmental protections?
As we all saw with the hurricanes last year, the environment around us is something that is super important to be aware of and acknowledge and manage. Thankfully, this year we didn't have a storm like we did last year, but the next one could be this coming year. So I think being aware of the environmental issues, whether it's stormwater drainage or erosion, is very important. The city's Public Works Department has recently put together a stormwater drainage grant program to provide residents with matching funds or homeowners associations to improve drainage on their properties. It's been a pilot program, but encouraging that is super helpful. and continuing efforts with the living shoreline, and just constantly being aware of and monitoring those changes with our environment is definitely a super important role as a commission.
All right, Candidate Gallagher. Given our coastal location, parks and waterfront amenities, what position should we take as a community, and investments should or shouldn't be made in environmental protections?
Yeah, we talk a lot about, and as a Floridian, I think we know it very well, about hardening our facilities and hardening infrastructure. Hardening is the term that applies to high-impact doors, windows, roofing for actual real estate facilities. There's another definition of hardening as well, and that is what can we do to prevent erosion, whether it's concrete or steel pilings versus wood pilings, whether it is what they've done at Philippi Park, which is laying oyster beds that provide both a habitat for fish as well as help to minimize erosion. I think examples like that, as well as seeking the input of people from engineering and people with the knowledge of how best to proceed to minimize erosion and hurricane events so that we're able to recover, I think they all make sense.
Okay. And we'll start with you on the next question. Candidate Gallagher, do you support green building standards or renewable energy initiatives?
I think they make sense. Our government offers incentives for those. So as indicated by that, I think we know what it means to our government. I think independent business people and folks in the city, I think they should take a cue from the government. That is, if incentives and rebates are offered for green buildings and green living standards, then we probably should get in line with what that research has bared and considering offering, or continuing to offering solutions like that.
All right. Candidate Shanks, do you support green building standards or renewable energy initiatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that renewable energy initiatives are definitely important. We have a ton of sun in Florida. Solar energy is very valuable as a tool to not just protect the environment, but also save money. It's something that can definitely be looked at from a city standpoint within city facilities itself, if it makes sense to save our city and our citizens money through taxes. And I am definitely in support of encouraging, homeowners and business owners to maintain green building standards and renewable energy efforts.
All right, and you get the next question. Libraries provide valuable services equitably to a broad spectrum of patrons. Currently, Florida book ban laws only apply to public schools. How would you respond if the law is expanded to public libraries, and what direction would you give the library director?
I'm against book banning laws. I'm against them. I know the importance of reading. It's one of the things that my parents taught me early is read, read, read. It's one of the things I do with my kids. Knowledge is the best tool we have as a society to grow and learn and develop and change, and it's super rewarding and valuable to everybody. So I'm absolutely against book banning, especially in our public libraries. I do understand concerns that people might have about what their kids read, but I think that's on adults to monitor what their kids are doing, whether it's what they're reading or who they're playing with or anything. It's our job to be good parents to our children. I'm against it, and I guess that's all I can say.
All right. Candidate Gallagher? Libraries provide valuable services equitably to a broad spectrum of patrons. Currently, Florida book ban laws only apply to public schools. How would you respond if the law is expanded to public libraries, and what direction would you give the library director?
Good question. I believe that people could exercise common sense, and as a for instance, pornography, which I think most could agree on, is not something that should be consumed, especially by minors. And if that's the type of item that we should look at banning, I would definitely be in favor of that. Outside of that, there are a number of novels and magazines that approach that, but that may not meet that standard. Again, I would look to public input, since it does involve tax dollars, and it is a publicly funded institution, to guide us on how we should move forward. And I think that's the best course of action.
All right, thank you. And you get the next question. With the potential changes to the property tax structure being debated by the state legislature for a future voter referendum, are you concerned about the impact on the city's finances? And what would you propose to mitigate it? Cut services or raise revenue from another source?
Currently, before the Florida House of Representatives, there are a number of measures, and they range from a complete elimination of ad valorem taxes to an increase of assessment value to $100,000 to a percentage of assessed value for ad valorem taxes. Why are ad valorem taxes important? Ad valorem taxes fund our EMS, our fire department, and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. We funded just short of $8 million in services from ad valorem taxes. If those taxes, if we have to do without those tax dollars, I think we need to take a look at all options before we talk about raising taxes. It could involve negotiating with any one of our providers. It could involve using technology to get greater efficiencies from our providers. But I would be in favor of taking a look at those two measures before I was in favor of adding any new tax.
Okay. Candidate Shanks?
Yeah, so this is potentially the single biggest issue that either one of us, whoever wins, would have to deal with if property tax reform happens. As David said, there's a number of bills, so we don't know exactly what it would look like, but on the worst scale, to put it into plain English, roughly 57% of the city's budget from ad valorem taxes would be cut. And in talking this over with the city manager, looking at budgets, that would mean shutting down the library, laying off the whole staff, shutting down the entire Parks Department, losing all the services that Parks and Rec provide, and that still wouldn't make up the amount of money that we would lose. So I think educating our citizens is the most important thing about the realities of what this would mean. If that happens, all bets are off. I mean, you would have to raise taxes as well as cut services. I would like somebody who keeps the affordability issues in mind and does it in a way that best protects those of us who can least afford it.
All right. Next question, Candidate Shanks. Many fire and EMS departments are facing staffing shortages as calls for service increase. How would you address staffing shortages in emergency services?
Yeah, so this is something that's definitely important to me. If you don't know, my father was a firefighter, so I grew up in a household that was always around the fire department. I grew up, hanging off the back of fire trucks, and I know how valuable those fire and EMS services are. Thankfully, recently we've brought our pay rates up to be more in line with other communities around us. A couple years ago, we lost 6 firefighters, and as a business owner, I certainly know it's more expensive to replace people than it is to retain them. So having compensation that's in line with neighboring departments is definitely something that's important, and to continually monitor that. They've recently added new benefits to the fire department that's in line with other communities, giving them the similar time off and things like that. So it's important to keep negotiating those issues and keep our public servants in mind.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, many fire and EMS departments are facing staffing shortages as calls for service increase. How would you address staffing shortages in emergency services?
I think a salary survey and a salary study would be my first step. I think you need to know where your compensation is as it relates to other municipalities, because typically you're competing against municipalities, but you might also be competing against the private sector, in which case, as most probably would agree, the private sector tends to pay more than city or municipal government. I think a number of tools would need to be at our disposal, including incentives to sign, retention incentives if an employee might stay past a certain period of time, training as you move people up the ladder from a less skilled to a more skilled position. I think all of those tools should be at the city's disposal to keep and retain the best talent that they can afford.
All right, thank you. And we'll start with you for the next question. Candidate Gallagher, Safety Harbor has a robust roster of recreational activities for residents. Any gaps or new programs you would like to see added?
You know, we're fortunate in Safety Harbor. As part of my journey in this process, I took a look at the number of parks and recreation facilities that neighboring communities offer, such as Palm Harbor and Oldsmar, and we have a wealth of parks that people enjoy. I walk my dog at the Safety Harbor. I call it the Spa Park. I go through North City Park. All of those parks are available to citizenry. As far as activities, whether they be held at the community center, we have a number of people who've expressed interest in pickleball. I think pickleball has replaced tennis as the new outdoor activity. So could there be options for indoor pickleball? Could there be other land that we could acquire and or build on to satisfy the pickleball demand? Are there healthy activities that we could get seniors involved in, whether that be yoga, Pilates, etc.? She's telling me I'm out of time.
Candidate Shanks.
I listen to her too.
Safety Harbor has a robust roster of recreational activities for residents. Any gaps or new programs you would like to see added?
I'm all in favor of listening to whatever gaps the citizens and the community wants. You know, I've helped form a local kickball league, not through the city, but through business owners, as well as cornhole leagues. I've supported those. I'm all in favor of any activity that local residents want. I have enough. I get enough exercise chasing my kids around. They're 3 and 5, so my time to use those activities are limited. So personally, I don't have any that I personally want to add, but you know, I think it's definitely important to encourage the continual look at those programs and adding new and interesting ones and trying new things out. And if our community doesn't like it, switching to something else.
All right. Well, this hour has flown by, and it is time for each of you to make your 2-minute closing statement, and then I'll have a few closing remarks. But candidate Shanks, you can go first.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight, and the Public Library for providing this wonderful space. And thank you to David again for running for office, and thank you all for being here. We need as many engaged citizens as possible. An engaged community is a healthy community, and this turnout says a lot for Safety Harbor. Tonight you've heard different ideas and perspectives from both of us, and that's a good thing. Our city is better when people care enough to ask questions, speak up, and stay involved. Local government works best when it's thoughtful, collaborative and grounded in the real experiences of the people who live here. For me, this campaign isn't about one issue or one agenda. It's about balance, being fiscally responsible while still continuing to invest in the programs, events, and services that make Safety Harbor such a wonderful place to live. It's about protecting the character of our city while making sure it continues to work for families, seniors, small businesses, and longtime residents alike. I bring a perspective that's shaped by building something here, by investing in the city, by navigating city processes, listening to customers, neighbors, and seeing firsthand how policy decisions affect real people. I believe having that lived experience matters, especially when decisions impact both our quality of life and our tax dollars. Most importantly, I'm running because I care deeply about the future of this city. My kids are growing up here. Many of you have spent decades building this community. We all share a common goal, leaving Safety Harbor better than when we found it. If I earn your trust, I promise to listen, to ask questions, and to approach every decision with the best interest of this community in mind, not just the loudest voices or the easiest choices. Thank you guys for being here again and staying engaged. Thank you to my wife, once again, Nikki. She is amazing. And if you get anything out of me today, it's that she is amazing. So thank you very much.
All right.
Way over. It's all good.
All right. Candidate Gallagher, 2-minute closing
Yep.
statement.
Thanks again to the Chamber for hosting, for the League of Women Voters for moderating. Kevin and I hopefully have given you additional information on our backgrounds and capabilities. My background includes solid business experience working with people, budgets, vendors, hiring and firing, staffing in the profit world. In the not-for-profit world, working with members, congregants, parents, children's, interested third parties. All very important as we fulfill the job of a commissioner. Listening is a key skill in this job, and you can't listen enough and ask enough good questions. This is a nonpartisan position whose focus is to do the will of the people and the best job for residents. Again, asking questions, listening carefully, and developing a resident-oriented platform that executes on the will of the people. I believe my profit and not-for-profit experience can be leveraged for the maximum Safety Harbor benefit. I believe in fiscal responsibility, efficiency, and transparency, and enhancing green spaces, and I will run on that platform. Please keep me in mind now and as you go to the voting booth in March. Thank you for your time.
Great job.
Yeah.
The last day to register to vote for this municipal election is February 9th, and we have a lot of information about registering mail-in ballots, early voting at our table. Election day is March 10th. Thank you, David and Kevin, for running. It takes a lot of courage to step up and serve your community. Thank you, audience, for listening. Democracy only works if we all participate, and local government has a large daily impact on you. Please remember to vote. Thank you again for attending tonight.